something I've also worried about in the States with Asian Americans in the States is that because of a lot of the scapegoating, because of the hate, because of the political tensions, I feel like you might find a lot of Asian Americans who grew up in America, their whole lives, are kind of wanting to distance themselves from their ethnic origins too, in a way.
You see that a lot.
Huh?
You see that a lot.
You see that a lot, right?
Yeah.
And it really bothers me. It really, really bothers me because it's like, oh, no, like I'm American. I'm not Chinese. I'm American.
Let's separate that.
Yeah, let's clear that first, right? I'm American. And, a lot of them, you hear this a lot too. It's like when, some victims or people who saw attacks of Asian Americans, they're like, they attacked me and I'm not even Chinese. I'm American and they attacked me. And like, I get that they don't really mean ill by saying that. Like, that's something natural to say. But by saying that, what you're inferring is that, so if you were Chinese, it'd be okay to attack you?
Yeah, exactly.
You're saying it's not okay because you're American. Mm-hmm. I get that. Mm-hmm. Oh, so it's okay to attack Chinese people now?
Yeah.
Like if they were from China, then you can attack them? Then it'll be fine? Mm-hmm. So and it's really, it's really tricky because like you see them trying to distance themselves from like, I'm not Chinese, I'm American. I'm not Chinese. So even the Asian Americans in the country of America are trying to like distance themselves from China, which is really sad to see as well, because the message should just be, you shouldn't be attacking people, period. And it should have nothing to do with what country you're from. Again, going back to this nationalism.
It's so funny you say that because I actually thought that this morning. I was watching some videos and there's this one person talking about the recent Asian American like hate crime that's been happening in America, right? And this person was born in China, right, but raised in Canada, right? And she's like a YouTuber, and so she was talking about. I mean, at first I was into it because she was talking about how fucked up the whole, like all the hate crimes and just general like racism and stereotypes towards Asians, like just stuff that we've been talking about, very on the nose and really good. And all of a sudden she flips it and she's like, at the end of the day, all this hate towards us, Asians living here in America or in Canada, at the end of the day, we're not Chinese, And I like just totally flip the script. It's like, we're not Chinese. Sure, I was born in China. Sure, but there's a reason why I left. I left because I didn't agree with, whatever, and that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, it's like she's trying to point out how much she's better than everybody because, she's in the West and growing up there. And she went off, and I just got disgusted. Like I was just like, are you serious? Like that's your defense now? Yeah. At first, like you were good because we're all talking about Asians in general, about how wrongly, the mistreatment, or even like the ignorance that has been put upon Asian Americans in general.
Oh, she's becoming the very thing that she's standing up against.
Exactly. And all of a sudden she flips the script. She's like. Even though I was born in mainland China.
And I think that's why a lot of fucking Chinese people fucking have a bad image of these ABCs. It's because of people like that.
So disgusting.
People who are like distancing themselves from like their Chinese ethnicity or origin, right? And it's just like, it's pathetic.
At the end of the day, a stranger, not saying a stranger is white, black, Asian, whatever, a stranger who doesn't know you is not going to differentiate you from being from America, from Canada, from Australia, from China, from Japan, from India. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a stranger.
Asian is Asian to them.
I don't know where you're from.
Yeah.
Right? You can be like Indian Chinese, right? You look like Chinese, but you grew up in India, or African, right? You got those kind of people as well, right? Doesn't matter where you're from because I don't know. I don't know you. So I'm just going to look at you as Asian, period. So that should be like that standard that you should think about.
Yeah.
Right? It's Asian.
Yeah.
So forget about you trying to differentiate yourself if you're Asian American or whatever. Like, oh, I'm better than real Chinese or real Korean or real Japan.
Or I think it's a play for sympathy, right? It's a play for sympathy with the majority of Americans who are not Asian, and be like, hey, look, I'm one of you guys.
I'm one of you guys.
Yeah, I'm one of you guys.
Accept me.
I'm American. As an American as you, like white man, black man, whoever, right? Like, I'm one of you guys. Accept me. Yeah, accept me.
But here, hold on. I'm gonna pivot for one second. Because one of the things that gets discussed a lot about the whole Asian American experience is that the Asian American or the Asian living in America, quote unquote, are the model minority, right? The closest thing to whiteness as a minority as one can get, right? I mean, you've heard that rhetoric before, right? And that's why you don't get as much hate crime towards Asians. You get like bad language and get made fun of and shit like that, and they're stereotypes. But they're the model minority. They're the closest thing to the whiteness. So the whiteness are like, okay, we're good. We're not going to give you trouble, right?
Because you keep your head down. You don't get out of hand. You don't really speak up.
Not like the other minorities.
Yeah.
Right, quote unquote. Right.
Like, you're quiet. You're docile. Okay, we'll put up with you.
But let's really think about that for a second, and think about what I just said about the whole like let's say ABCs or people who grew up in the West, but they're really but they're Asian or Chinese, and they say I am American. They're buying into the whole model minority stigma, right? They're buying into I'm accepted. I mean, come on, how could you not accept me? I thought we're in. I thought we're cool.
It's the whole yes master mentality.
Yeah, I thought we're cool.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's what it is? You're cool? You're in? You're in with the white peeps?
Yeah.
Well, look, nothing against when I say that. Let me just say I have nothing against white people. I'm just using that as a
you hate white people so much.
Yeah, obviously not. I'm just using these stereotypes that are said. Yeah, right. I'm just using the language that is expressed that's easier to discuss with. Right. So that's the only reason I'm saying that and generalizing. But yeah, I mean it just pisses me off. So that's just funny that you say that, because I thought about that this morning and I was like, fuck.
I'm not trying to draw parallels, but I think it's an apt example. I know you can't really compare. I feel like it's completely two different things, like kind of the Asian plight and the African American plight. But it's a similar mentality as back when there were slaves in America and the plantation days, you had the house slave and you had the field slaves. And many of the time, the house slaves would feel superior to the field slaves, right? And, the master of the house, they would feel like they're part of the family, right? And they would look down on the field slaves like, no, I'm not one of the field slaves. I'm not one of you guys.
Yeah.
I'm a house slave. I'm in with the family, right? It's that same kind of sentiment and mentality that we're talking about. It's like, no, I'm American. No, I'm not Chinese. No, I got away from there. No, I'm not. I'm American. I'm one of you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're better. And
that's a great analogy.
And again, we can't generalize. It's not all Asian Americans that feel that way. I know many Asian Americans who are speaking up and that are very much aligned with our thought in terms of look, this is about all Asians, right? They're very proud of their Asian roots and heritage, but there is definitely a lot of Asian Americans are also trying to distance themselves.
Yeah.